Call it Park Bubba Sparks.
Booty, 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 rockin' everywhere. Booty, booty.
Short. Hey, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
What's up, YouTube? It's Desi, and I'm back with another video, you guys. So this video is going to talk about how I became a phlebotomist fresh out of high school, you guys, and pretty much, is it worth it? What was my phlebotomist journey? So pretty much, yes, I did become a phlebotomist straight out of high school. Basically, I started off with medical assistant. That was my initial goal. I finished medical assistant schooling, and then I didn't get hired on with my externship. So basically, I then got my first job with medical wise. It was working at a plasma center. Now, I don't count externship as an actual job because that's basically where you're learning, and I wasn't getting paid for that, so that's why I didn't count that as that. But technically, my first medical job was working at a plasma center. So I'm gonna talk to you guys a little bit more as far as for that and how my journey on how I became that. So basically, fresh out of high school, I graduated a high school diploma and everything like that. Once I got done with that, I went and enrolled into Fortis College. Fortis College is where you could pretty much become either a nurse, surgical technician, you can become a LPN, medical assistant, dental assistant, the list goes on and on. They don't have a phlebotomy technician position. I do want to let you guys know that. So if you guys are looking like, is that a school where I can go out to become, you know, this and that? No, you cannot. But however, for us, when we tried to get, well, technically the process of getting certified for a medical assistant, once you complete the schooling, you have to take a test. Now, our test was with NCCT. Now, you can, however, become a certified phlebotomy technician when you apply for the NCCT phlebotomy technician test. So if you guys want to be certified through that way, you can, but they're probably going to ask you how many hands-on opportunities did you have, or did you go to school for any of these type of opportunities. Now, that's one way, but however, I got my experience with learning how to stick at Fortis College. So basically, one of the requirements is you have to have more than 100 sticks, and also not just venipuncture, but also with capillary as well too. And we were able to get different students from different specialties to pretty much you know, practice sticking on them and whatnot. So we can grab like a student from surgical technician, and then we'll go ahead and take their blood, and then we'll mark it down, and then they have to sign their signature and stuff like that. That's usually how you have to do it and keep track as far as for that. So I got my experience with sticking there, and I was, you know, pretty much fond of that. Now, one of my friends mentioned like, hey, they have a class going on Craigslist where you could pretty much get a certificate for phlebotomy. So I looked it up, and the class was on Beach Boulevard here in Florida. So basically, I went over there, got the class. It was really nice. It was set up. It had like mini dummies in front of us, basically the dummies with the arms. And it was able where you can kind of have like it was fake blood and everything like that. But basically, she showed us as far as for what to do when it's a rolling vein going on, when you can't get the vein. She showed us how to pull back if we are too deep into the vein. You know, the difference between a butterfly needle, regular needle, also the different gauges that we'll use, also different tubes. We were able to learn the different meanings of the different tubes and everything like that. So basically, we just took the class. The class was like probably like 2 weeks or so, and basically once you're done with the class, she'll then give you a test. Once you pass that test, then you'll get a certificate for phlebotomy. So that's why I try to tell you guys it's a difference between being certified with phlebotomy and having a certificate with phlebotomy. But nowadays I feel like they don't really too much care about whether you're certified or having a certificate, because they're going to teach you how to do it on their own even when you're there. So that's kind of like how that went. So then once I kind of got that out the way, you know, I finished Fortis College and everything like that. I didn't pass my test at the time for medical assistant, so they didn't hire me on with my externship. So I was like, okay, maybe, you know, medical assistant isn't for me right now. I went ahead and started looking for phlebotomy jobs, because I'm like, okay, I got the certificate. Why don't I won't just go for phlebotomy? So then I ended up applying to BPO Plasma. And BPO Plasma, they had a phlebotomy position that I applied for, but they started me off as a donor floor technician. So as a donor floor technician, that's pretty much where you're monitoring all the donors. Basically, you have to set up the machines for them. That's the PSC2 machines, I think, or PCS2 machines, one of the two. But you basically set that up for the donor, and you have to monitor them the whole entire time for donating. Once they're done donating and having a successful donation, you then go ahead and pay them out. And how it works is at a plasma center, you don't have money on hand there. Everything is through a card. So they have like a certain card where their money will be loaded on there. And that's how I got my experience with donor floor technician. So then management asked me and was like, did you want to get cross-trained with phlebotomy? So I'm like, yeah, sure. So I'm just thinking in my head, this isn't going to be as hard. You know, I had already learned how to do this in school. So the thing that made it really hard for me is dealing with scar tissue. So when I noticed that it was a lot of patients that was coming there, hold on. All right, so when I noticed that it was like a lot of scar tissue that I was dealing out with, I basically had to realize on how to regulate with that. So when I mean as with scar tissue is like that hard texture that you see on most patients' arms. Is usually like in this amount range or that amount range. Sometimes it's in the middle, but it looks like a scar basically. And one thing that I noticed when dealing with, you know, trying to do phlebotomy with scar tissue, basically once you go inside, you can feel that pop. When you feel that pop, you're pretty much inside there. But some people have scar tissue built up so much, you kind of got to go deeper or kind of like jump with the needle and, you know, fish in there a little bit more just to make sure that you get a successful draw. It is tough when doing that, but I feel like that actually helped out my experience with phlebotomy because I was able to kind of deal with people with bigger arms, also dealing with people with smaller arms, dealing with people with like you know, old type texture skin, because when at a plasma center, it's all types of patients you're dealing with. It's younger people coming in there, older people coming in there. You just never know. So I definitely feel like that was kind of helping me out with my experience with that. Also, when working at a plasma center, basically I did learn after, you know, getting cross-trained with phlebotomy, then they taught me receptionist. And basically with receptionist, I was able to screen the donors. So when screening the donors, I basically was doing like the vital signs parts where I take their temperature, take their blood pressure, hemocrit, hemoglobin, those type of things. So basically they had to pass certain criterias before getting to the floor. And some people we had to turn down, which was kind of like the sad part. But at the end of the day, you don't want to let a donor go out to the floor if they can't pass that first part, because if something happens, that can reflect back on you. And you will have some donors who come into your booth and they say stuff like, please let me go out today, please pass me today, I know my blood pressure is high, but please, I need this money and stuff like that. And my thing is, you don't want to show too much sympathy, because at the end of the day, that could cost you your job. I literally seen people who got fired just off of trying to like have someone go out there, and then, you know, other things happen. So I would definitely look out for that whenever, you know, trying to go to a plasma center. I definitely won't regret my experience as far as for working at a plasma center, because that kind of was like my headliner with working in the medical field. I definitely liked it that. And I definitely feel like if you're fresh out of high school and say for instance you start off going to nursing school or something like that and you didn't pass your nursing test and you want to try something different, probably try to start off with CNA or something like that. Don't try to go out your way and try to like go around what you just paid for school for, but just try to stay in the medical field and see if there's something else that's kind of best for you until you feel like you're ready to go back. And after getting my experience with phlebotomy, it's like everything kind of went downhill at BPO because we had different management. So everything kind of went downhill when we had different management at BPO. So I started applying to different medical assistant jobs, and then I got hired on as a medical assistant for pain management. So pain management was definitely nice as well too. I learned my experience with that. I stayed there for at least like a year and a half, but the only thing with pain management, I was ready to leave because we were dealing with a lot of elderly patients, and the COVID definitely has been a big hit lately, and I feel like a lot of elderly patients are triggered by that. So that kind of like bothered me. So I definitely felt like I wanted to work from home. So now I as a remote medical assistant, and I'm doing the same thing that I was doing at pain management, except like instead of seeing the patient's televisit where like they could see me and I could see them, it's more so like I work in a system where I basically work with e-clinicals, and I'm just typing in everything into the electronic healthcare records and just updating that for the physician. So basically the physician will already have everything kind of prompt for me, but however I just got to fill in certain information and then just kind of abstract the chart, and then once I do all that, it'll then get sent to the physician, and he just carries on whatever else he needs to do. Now I'm still in a training part as far as for this job, but I definitely feel like remote medical assistant is a lot more better for me and a lot more less stress, because it's just so much to deal with pain management. I will definitely do a video for you guys, but if you guys check down the links below, I can pretty much tell you as far as for what was it like for me in a day of a life of a medical assistant when dealing with pain management. It was just so much you're dealing with. Like a lot of patients go through withdrawals, a lot of patients get impatient with their medications, and don't get me wrong, it was a learning experience, but ever since the COVID hit, it's been like a lot of changes in the medical field. So I definitely feel like that's kind of like a hit. But in the meantime, I'm hoping everybody could pretty much enjoy their day. This is pretty much was my journey with phlebotomy. I definitely won't regret it. Will I end up going back to phlebotomy? I definitely won't think so, because at the end of the day, I feel like with phlebotomy, you're constantly on your feet, and me with medical assistant, you're constantly on your feet with medical assistant too, but it's not like I'm always working with blood. Like, if anything, I want to go back to OBGYN medical assistant. I really love my experience with that, but I definitely feel like my days with phlebotomy as like full time is over. I'm definitely done with medical assistant for pain management, and I'm definitely done with medical assistant for family practice. I definitely just want to go back to medical assistant with OBGYN. So y'all keep up with my journey as far as for that. In the meantime, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and y'all stay safe. Peace, y'all.